So
Okay.
just wanted to get we all live? Yeah, we live now. Mother flip, Gail.
Sorry. Hi, Noelle.
Hi.
What I do just now? Multi-track. What the hell did I do? What is that? Oh. What did I do? What did I do? Let's see. Boy, Noelle, I hope you got your pearls on because you can be clutching them. I want to read some of these comments that people make.
Yeah, man, ready.
These people going off on you.
What's new?
Marlene!
I sometimes I have to remind myself that some of the views I hold in some circles, it makes me a radical woman.
Yep.
So what you gonna expect?
See,
I know I don't use that. I just don't get it. All right, where the hell Marlene gone? Anyhow, we can start, and she could come in later. She must be going to the bathroom. All right, we can start recording this.
why are you talking all her business?
I understand. She just tell people she's go to the bathroom.
She might be
all us is go to the bathroom.
She might be
human,
she might be indisposable.
Please. He's human. All right, where's my phone? I gotta share this. You brush tiger. I forget you was a social media person. Because I would not have done that. Way to go, Gail. See why I have you here?
Yes.
It's live on the page, so I want to share it on my page.
Let me see if I could tag you in it so you will be able to find it easier. Let me see.
Okay, yeah, that'd be good.
Podcast. All right, there it is. All right, let me try edit it and tag. Edit. I hope it let me tag. What the hell?
I don't think you could
edit.
edit.
Just close like that? Mother sick.
I hope you didn't end the video.
No, I ain't in it. Because it ain't live. Only that phone could end the video.
Okay, great.
Yeah, only your phone could end it. I can't do that.
Okay.
Let me delete this. Right quick. All right, let me try it again. Because my phone.
Just tell me when y'all ready.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm right here trying to look like people to go to this event.
Oh, lucky you. I see all kind of people trying to go to that. Candicia was Johnson for tickets for the past couple of days.
I see that.
Johnson. Say, mother sick, man. All right, here it is.
No, man. That's the next thing you'll hear me get fiery on if it's not women's rights, and it could be immigration-related stuff.
Oh, wow.
So I got to support Kareem.
Oh, interesting.
How about I just tag
how about you tag her from
in
that?
a comment instead of the video itself,
yeah,
and then we could edit it later on to...
For some reason, Facebook keep closing on this next one. You doing? No? Oh, let me try it from this phone. Let me see if it'll work. I had to bring this topic back, and I see people going crazy.
That's fire.
Man, listen, they bring all the gasoline off of that show. I see. Clearly, there's a disconnect here. This gap.
And you would have thought that this would be an issue that everybody could just get along. I mean,
nope. Have you not learned? This is the internet age. We don't get along on anything. It will always be a battle.
I think we always never used to get along. We just have a huge platform now to say any and everything.
Now we just let it all out.
Exactly.
With no discretion.
Yes. Keyboard warrior.
Greg, leave well alone.
Here's what to do, Noelle, because Facebook is crashing on both of my phones. So just search for the Under the Rug podcast. And like the page, and then once you slide down, you should see it right there, the live video. You should find it on the page. I don't know.
No problem.
I don't know why I keep crashing when I try to edit it, but that's the devil again.
Satan.
All right, let me start to share this a little bit myself. Let me share it to my personal and then the media page.
There.
She's back.
Oh, there. Marlene, you come from the bathroom yet?
Oh, I see you.
Hi here.
Sorry, I couldn't be there.
You sure you're going to pee?
Greg, stop talking this woman business.
Say again, Greg.
I said, you sure you're going to pee?
68.
68, yeah, that's it.
Hi, Nadia. Hello, Clarice, Petty, Sandakan.
Sandakan here?
Yep.
That's Chrissy boy.
Oh, boy.
Post. Boy, my grandma don't matter on social media, right?
Mm.
That's a serious question? Have you seen people's posts? me included.
Grandma always matters.
Listen to this old stickler. Grandma always matters. Old people.
They all clipping out.
That's the only old people is check for them things.
Okay, lovely.
Grandma is important.
Sure.
My Grammy always important.
I knew you were going to say that.
Y'all waiting for other people?
Yeah. Well, I just sharing this right quick to my my personal page, and then we go rock and roll. I a little slow. I suck at multitasking.
Yeah, I'm closing it.
I know my limits. Okay, yeah. Gail. No, I should have just do this from the beginning. Gee. Genius. And Christina Marlene's
These two look better.
Oh.
Yeah, you see, I'd go Gail and Greg.
The whole name.
I'd go Jared.
Guess how much time you was calling your own whole name?
Oh, Jesus. Okay, plug in
Okay,
phone.
so definitely these.
So don't go out during the show.
See, tug. Under the tug with Mother Sing.
Oi, oi, oi.
That's a good name. Under the tug.
Under the tug? I know your mind.
Yeah.
I know your mind dirty.
That's your other side.
Gee.
I can leave that one right there.
I hear that part.
No, I can leave that.
Greg so ugly.
That's Chrissy?
Yeah.
Under the tug. You know,
Chrissy, what you saying?
Chris, you know Noelle?
If she know me.
Charlotte, right here. How are you? Who that is?
That's Noelle Nicolls.
Oh. Noelle, how are you?
I'm good. I can't hear you too good, but I'm still good.
Let me see. I bet you she got this phone far from her mouth. Chrissy, put the phone in your mouth, please.
Now. I gotta get my Apple Jackson thing, boy.
Apple Jacks?
My Apple Jackson bear.
Apple Jacks and Bear.
Y'all talking about this thing what is upset me.
That sound like the belly.
I gotta be medicated for the show. Affect me.
This is affect a lot of people, apparently. All women and some men.
Yep.
What, this is she a man?
Yeah.
This is upset me.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, all women and some men. Listen, I tell Noelle she better have her pearls on because she can be clutching them when we get into these comments. They make a whole post about her after she been on the show.
You
That's all right, man.
You always making people clutch their pearls.
All right. Tune in. Bang. Video still up, right?
Connection gone again.
Chrissy, your boy here, you know.
Jared.
Sandakan.
Sandakan.
Your boy Sandakan, yeah.
Sandakan?
Yeah.
Lord, the man who named after the TV show.
What TV show that is?
What
Anyhow, all right, let's kick it off.
Y'all young children don't remember Sandakan on ZNS?
Mother said, look, you say ZNS. Only thing I remember from ZNS was when Night Rider and everything used to come on down. And Thundercats.
That was the show.
Dynasty.
Mother sick. I hate them stories. Yes. Soap operas. My
I want to see the new Dynasty. Y'all see that?
Huh? All right, now Gail, I can need.
Y'all see the new Dynasty?
Now I can need Gail to read some of these comments because some of the people was cursing you, Noelle.
Gee.
Let's go.
And I don't curse, so.
So what happened to Entrepreneur today?
We just finished it.
You don't curse?
What she say?
How come I didn't get a
notification?
I know.
We had some technical difficulties today, so
early on.
Yeah.
So we're using Gail bubbler right now.
I know on my phone now.
My bubbler.
So maybe I didn't
all you should have to do is just slide. Hold on. Oh no, this the old stuff. Let's start. No, that's good.
Y'all hear me chewing my Apple Jacks?
Bing. Okay. So from this first one, you just go right for the rest.
Okay.
All right. Everybody ready?
We ready.
All right.
Born ready.
Marlene, you ready? She must be going for them Apple Jacks. Let me get it on.
Who's Marlene though?
You.
She have a delay.
Excuse me, I write you, boy. My Apple Jack. See my Apple Jack? A is for apple, J is for
I can't see that thing freeze. Now remember, Chrissy, keep your
Apple Jacks cost $3.99 for the big box.
Listen, stop bragging, please. Please stop. I don't want to hear your American prices for these things, okay? Please stop.
And cinnamon raisin crunch, Gail. I think that's
Welcome back under the rug, people. Had to bring this topic back. It was a hot week, a fiery week. As you may know, Gail and I started this discussion last week.
Yeah.
We got into the discussion about sexual harassment, and I think it was stemmed from the whole Harvey Weinstein and Terry Crews incident. And so we dove into it a little bit. But as you know, the show is only about an hour long, so we couldn't get the full, context and the full. We didn't get to cover everything we wanted to cover. And it just so happens that the following Monday, Mrs. Noelle Nicolls, look at me, but Mrs. I'm marrying you off and all. Jeez. Miss Noelle Nicolls was on a talk show in the morning with some other guests, and they were also speaking about sexual harassment. And she made, let me let her tell you all. Let me let her tell you all. I ain't going to try and tell you all the story, but it was one story in particular that for some reason set people off on social media, Facebook in particular, to have people actually making posts from the show, and this is the only thing they remembered. And let me introduce the guest before Noelle tells us this story. We have, of course, my light-skinned Rasta friend, Gail. Hanna is here.
Yes, I.
We have Noelle Nicolls, as I stated earlier. Hello. And we also have Christina Marlene Thompson, a.k.a. Chrissy Love.
You flipping.
So, so as you can tell, I'm on the show with a lot of women because it's a very passionate issue for women in particular, and for men in other ways. But women suffer in this country and around the world from sexual harassment in the workplace, in any place actually, anywhere they go, all walks of life. And there was a movement that was started, I think, I don't know the person that started it, but it was Me Too, and they said, post Me Too if you too experience sexual harassment in your lifetime. And just a lot of women just started to post Me Too on their status, and some of them also shared their stories with the hashtag Me Too. And so we're going to focus on that and the backlash from what happened, Mara? This is a delay, really?
Yeah, she have a little delay.
Okay, so we're going to
one story.
Pardon?
I have one story before Noelle tells her story.
Oh, you got a story before Noelle's story? A
quick story, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So yesterday, my sister and I went to go and put some air in the tire, right? And I've already mentally prepared myself for the flock of seagulls, I call them.
Mine.
Basically, the persons who would be helping to operate the gas facilities or whatever would be anxious to assist with putting air in the tire. This can get annoying or can get a little strange. So I usually try to avoid it. Anyway, I pulled up, hopped out of the car as quick as I could to go and get the thing. Yeah, I was already too late. Your boy didn't spot me. So he come over, he's like, hey, yeah, what's going on? How you doing? Good morning. You need some assistance with that? Right? First one now. I was like, well, he didn't wait for me to answer. He just took up the hose and started putting air in the tire. While he was doing that, number two spot me. So he come over and he was like, man, the way you jump out of the car, I thought something was on fire, man. You was moving quick. So the gentleman who's assisting me with the tire said she was trying to hurry up before we came over here.
Oh, wow. He know what time it was.
Right? And I laughed because usually I'd have a witty response for whatever you throw at me. But the fact that he was actually very spot on, I really didn't have anything to say to it. But it made me laugh because it seems as though there's an awareness that you're harassing you have the potential to harass someone, and not only that, women are at the point now where we have to, well, I wouldn't say have to, but I find myself subconsciously making efforts to not be harassed by doing certain things. If I could get air in my tire within maybe 60 seconds, like a pit worker, then I probably would lessen my chances of being harassed or whatever the case may be. So that was my little funny story. I thought it was funny that he actually is aware of that women actually go through lengths or do certain things in order to not be bothered with the anticipation or the understanding that by the mere fact that they are there, they will be harassed or they will be bothered with. So that was my little tidbit from yesterday. I thought it was interesting since we said this was our topic for today.
Yes. All right. Now let's get to the thing that set people on fire. Well, now I'm sure you know by now which story we speaking of.
Well, I seem to remember there were 3 hot ones.
Oh, really?
One was, because I told two personal stories.
Okay.
But then I think it was actually my mother who made the comment about how a woman dresses in response to a caller. And that whole dress question set a lot of people off. So I don't know if the one you're referring to was the cell phone story or it was the gas station story.
It's the gas station story.
Okay,
Wow.
the gas station story.
Yes, the gas station story. Now, for the people that didn't listen to that show, tell them the gas station story again, and then what we'll do is Gail will read the post that was made because of this story, and then the comments. So let us know what happened in that situation.
Okay. So what happened was it was a Sunday. I was going to the beach. We stopped with the boat on the trail at the gas station to put some gas in the boat. And so I had on a swimsuit and like a see-through cover-up, like a beach cover-up that is revealing, right? So fine. I go into the gas station to get a couple of things inside the store to go to the beach.
Right.
So I'm inside the store and I'm looking at a shelf. And from the back room, a gentleman who works at the gas station comes out of the back room. Before he looks me in the eye, before he greets me, he just stares at my body and exclaims, "Wow," in a very lustful way. Now, fine. He was attracted to me. Okay. So in any event, he then said to me, again, I don't even say it saying to me because all now he hasn't looked at me.
Right.
He says, "Oh, miss, can I help you?" Right? Or I'd like to help you. And so I just replied to him and I said, "Thank you, but no, I don't need any help. And I don't want to be sexually harassed while I'm shopping in the gas station." And so he said, sorry, miss. And I said, "No problem." And he said, "But sometimes we men, we can't help ourselves." And I corrected him. I said, "No, you can help yourself. You can make a choice." And he said, "Okay, miss, sorry, miss. And then he just went and continued on his way. So I just told this story, as an example of some ways that we might encounter sexual harassment out on the street. And persons were very, very upset about that. One, they accused me of being full of myself because what's wrong with a compliment? They accused me of being slutty because I walking around in a swimsuit and what can I expect?
You know
if
what,
go
Noelle?
around horny dogs, don't you expect to get bits? All kind of stuff.
Let me do you one better. We're going to read some direct quotes.
Okay.
Because of this, right? So the original post that was made says, the woman on calls the radio station's name. This morning said she was sexually harassed because she walked inside a gas station in a swimsuit and one of the workers said, "Wow, can I help you?" Is that sexual harassment, ladies? He asked the question.
Yes.
Now, Gail, I screenshot.
I'm looking at this one. The first one
Go
here
ahead, read that one.
says, "What an ass." I mean, really. And
Well, I have that here.
I thought this was a respectable...
So go right ahead. No,
Anyway, okay, sorry.
So as you go, just read those ones and then swipe right.
First comment. She looking for attention. Underneath, exactly, I swear, and desperate hands. She looking for attention right now. She's so ugly. LOL. The gentleman said, exactly.
And mind you, a lot of these comments are coming from women, by the way.
That's the biggest part, but I didn't want to touch on that just yet. But
Okay,
yes.
go ahead.
Okay. Number 3. Girl, get over yourself. Please and fast. Suck my teeth. Dog, I saw the pics of the ladies in the studio during the show. None of them have that wow factor. Just being real. The gal just stink, that's all. Laughing emoji. Okay. Next, she wanted someone to harass her. She wanted someone to harass her.
She wanted someone to
but
harass her.
they wasn't on her run. Nah, she mad. Next, Bathsheba says, he could have also been saying, wow, where's your sense of decency? Then she continues, I walked in a gas station dressed for church on Sunday, and the guy said, wow.
How much was he having that?
It's 7 W's.
Oh, okay.
I said, thanks for the compliment, as it was in no way sexual. Man, sorry, I will read these. I will read these.
Come on, Gail.
I can do it.
You can do it, Gail. Come on.
I said, thanks for the compliment, as it was in no way sexual. Some women are full enough of themselves to believe every man wants them. Next comment says, this is classic attention seeking. But in defense of women, if you feel comfortable going out in public in a bikini, don't be afraid to do so. Even though this is classic attention seeking, don't be afraid to do so. Okay, next. Of course she wasn't sexually harassed. She was just being an ass. SMT. Another comment. The other ones was talking sense, but that gas station one sounded so silly. I know you were trying to make a point, and I wasn't disagreeing. I just wouldn't want to be photographed with a cap on. I'm not sure what that was about.
I don't know what
Okay, we'll move on. What an ass. I mean, really, isn't that dying?
That's the one you read first when you saw
but
it on the...
she don't be on the radio at all.
Oh, wow.
Dino one who's be on the radio, right?
Actually, that is the one who was be on the radio, I think.
And this one.
Oh, wow. That one come from a radio personality, Noelle.
That's what I was wondering. Anyway, hell
They come
no.
from all shapes and sizes.
Sorry, hell.
And a female one at that.
Hell no.
Well, hold on. Can we just pause a second?
Yes. I think we get the point. But first, let me ask
I know
you.
you say you didn't want to touch the thing about women, right?
Right, go ahead.
But I just actually want to touch that right now. Nobody should be surprised that women hold some of the same views of men when it comes to issues of sexual harassment, gender equality, any of these things, because men and women are socialized in the same way. Okay? And it shouldn't be a surprise. To me, some of the views that I hold are also radical to women. Many women are socialized to believe that your husband owns your body, and so he can't rape you. This is we are all socialized based on the same patriarchy, where it's all socialized based on the same notions of male and female gender roles and power structures that come from way, way back. So honestly and truly, I am never surprised. And I actually am surprised that people get surprised that men and women hold some of the same views, oftentimes counter to their own female interests.
Right.
Yep.
Most definitely.
Well,
but let me ask, because it seems to be
so.
the general consensus with those people. Were you seeking attention?
I don't even think I need to answer that. I don't even think that question makes sense.
What I really want to say
makes sense because women go about their lives.
But they actually believe this, Noelle. They think that your girls are doing these things. You're wearing these certain outfits and stuff because
wearing
you're
a swimsuit to the beach,
looking for attention.
Yes.
So I just want to clear it up for them and help them to understand exactly what it really is.
To me, that reflects their mindset. Like, okay, I can understand if I'm going out and in any of these contexts, I don't want to be sexually harassed, okay?
Right.
So let's just look at this seeking attention. Okay, you have situations where you and your girls, you going out, you looking to have a good time, and you looking maybe to find a guy who you could talk to, dance with, maybe bust up a conversation, go out after with, whatever the case may be. And in that case, you might be dressing up, looking good, wanting to feel good, not because you want to feel good for somebody else, but you want to feel good for yourself, and you look best when you feel good, right? Okay, yes, you might be trying to stand out, and you want people to look at you and know that you friggin' fine. Fine. There are some specific instances where a woman is going about her business trying to attract attention, and attention for many reasons, not just because she's trying to pick up a man. But in the day-to-day lives of women, when you're going into the gas station to buy some frickin' crunch and munch to carry on the beach, in the day-to-day lives of women, when you're going about your work, in your workplace, you go into the water fountain, you at the photocopying machine, you in the elevator, who the hell going around every single day, every hour, every minute of their life trying to look attention? No, we have lives. Like, everything ain't about you. Same people telling you, oh, it ain't about you. But they're thinking, maybe that's how they live their lives. But I can tell you, not all women live that way. So maybe there's a pocket of men and women who live in that way. But don't assume that everybody going about their daily lives always trying to look for attention and trying to have people look at them. It doesn't work like that for all people. I'm sorry.
Well, clearly there's a huge gap and a huge divide between a lot of men and women on this topic as to what exactly sexual harassment is. And I want to get to that in a bit, but I want to hear some more personal stories and some historical context. So I go to my old friend who's been around long time. Ms. Thompson, have you ever experienced sexual harassment? Actually, I know the answer to that. But tell us the one that sticks out the most, if you don't mind, if you can. Give us that experience that you went through that sticks out the most in your mind. I mean, I can't even talk today, jeez. Chrissy.
Is she still there?
You here, Chrissy?
Well, I'll read her comments if she...
Every woman,
okay.
Every woman.
You little faint down.
Every woman.
Uh-huh.
Can you hear me?
You little quiet down. The phone to your mouth?
I know.
Okay, go ahead.
My mouth is at the phone.
Okay, good. Bing, go ahead.
The phone is in my mouth. See? See it in my mouth.
Go ahead.
Misogyny. Yeah, I was typing my comments, but all of these reactions are based in the fact that misogyny and the spirit of misogyny makes young boys and men believe that they can approach women any kind of way. And that is why you hear women who find themselves being harassed and are told that it's a compliment, are told that they're overreacting, because society doesn't teach our men and boys that there's a fine line between harassment and complimenting. I could walk in a meat suit and a pack of dogs, and if it's unwarranted and unwanted, and you speak to me out of the side of your neck, I have a right to have a problem with that.
But that's the thing. They feel as though because it's a compliment, or you know what the issue is? Maybe we don't have a understanding of what is a compliment and what is inappropriate. And I understand how it can be difficult because people are different. I mean, it's sad, but it's a reality. And people are different, right? Because what someone may say to this one woman, she may take as a compliment, and they may say that same thing to another woman, and then she, freaks out and she has a big problem with it. So what I want to do is I want to get to exactly what you women here consider to be appropriate and inappropriate, because clearly we need to bridge this gap, and a lot of people have their own ideas as to what they feel is a compliment and what they feel is an insult. So let's because I feel like we always arguing and we always battling, and no one is actually taking the time to understand the other side's position. Everyone just wants to hold their position, and they want to insult the other side, and as opposed to understanding them, and you'll never solve problems that way. So let's get a complete understanding of what exactly is harassment, because clearly people don't understand what harassment is. Let's start with you, Noelle. What is harassment? Where's that line for you?
Okay, well, in fact, before we
for a
start
lot of
the
men,
line
they
for
believe
me,
harassment.
Hold on, Chrissy.
Sorry.
Before we start about what that line is for me, let's talk about what the laws and policies, local, regional, and international laws and policies define as sexual harassment.
Okay.
Because where this all comes from is the fact that sexual harassment is a legal thing. You understand? Sexual harassment is a matter of human rights and a matter of it's an offense, right? And they're different. Now, definitions vary, but these definitions are set by national laws, policies, regional and international laws and policies. Now, the specifics of them vary, but the principle of what sexual harassment is not Noelle Nicolls' opinion. it's a part of what the international community has agreed and established defines this type of offensive behavior. And what we have to appreciate, going to what you were saying, is that, remember, we're in terms of our development as people, we go through a process of evolution. Many of the things to date that are now considered sexual harassment 10, 20, 30, 50, 40, 100 years ago would not have been considered sexual harassment because those things would have been acceptable. And so in the minds of Bahamians today, men and women, we're all collectively still going through a process of evolution where sometimes our own personal beliefs and behaviors haven't caught up with where the international standards and the domestic laws actually are.
But can you give us those, Noelle? Can you give us those specific ones?
So the essence of it is unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal and nonverbal conducts, other verbal and nonverbal advances. So some of the things specifically are touching, right? Touching somebody. So if you slap a woman on her ass, right? So part of what a woman should be free from, you have a right to be free from sexual harassment. So if I walk naked down the street, now that might be indecent exposure and you might think my dress is offensive, but you still don't have a right to touch me. So if I walk naked outside of my front door and a man is passing by and he slaps me on my ass or tries to touch my breast, that is sexual harassment. All right, regardless of the fact that you think I was indecent in my exposure. So, touching certain texts. So, if you send persons, for example, unsolicited sex messages or email, particularly in a work environment context, that is sexual harassment.
So you mean you can't send people penis pics?
No, that's sexual harassment. If you are asked even intrusive questions about a person's private body and private life, that can be considered sexual harassment. If you request unsolicited, can be considered, particularly in the workplace. And some of these lines are more clearly delineated in a workplace context, right? So if you are persistent based on unwanted invitations to go out on a date, if you're persistent in terms of unwanted invitations to dance with you, all of these things constitute staring and leering can constitute sexual harassment. I had a case where I was picking up 3 girls who I mentor, off of Fowler Street. They live off of Fowler Street, and I was picking them up to take them to the beach. And they were in shorts and their swimsuits and tops, okay? And we're standing out on the front porch of their yard. And a man, now these are underage girls, and I was there with them as well. And actually their Grammy was on the front porch. All of us were just on the front. This man walked past the house. He stopped in front of the house, faced the girls, and just started staring at them and just stood there persistently staring. That is sexual harassment, and I had to tell him to carry his ass. Like, these are underage girls, and you're harassing us. Please move along. So staring and leering is considered sexual harassment.
Staring?
I already mentioned unwanted touching, and that was a part of the case. Now, in my view, you will always have people who I call on the fringe, who, no matter what we say, they ain't gonna be on this run. But I personally believe reasonable men and women would understand that there's a difference between a look that is, oh, I see you, I appreciate you're a beautiful woman, and a look that is objectifying you, and an offensive look that is objectifying you, and it makes you uncomfortable.
Is it safe to say that that's what you felt when you were in the gas station? Because I'm not going to lie, I was listening to the show, and when I first heard it, I was like, I think that may have been an overreaction a little bit to say I don't want to be sexually harassed. But then again, I wasn't there. I don't have the full context. I don't know, the way he was looking at you, the way he said it, the tone of voice.
Exactly.
So I can't.
But you can appreciate that there are different types of looks, right?
Right.
And you can appreciate that a look with body language and everything can communicate something different.
Right.
And I deliberately said to him, and what I said to him was, I do not want. This was after he asked to assist me. right? And again, it was in the way that he acts and the way that now he looked me in the eye until I confronted him directly. I specifically said, I do not want to be sexually harassed while I'm shopping in the gas station. I didn't tell him, stop harassing me. What I was communicating to him is that I would have felt, at that moment, I didn't feel uncomfortable. But if he had come over on the pretense of wanting to help me and proceeded to just leer at me as I shopped, that would have been harassing. And so he did not do that. I didn't say he did that, but I just communicated I wanted to nip that in the bud and let him know that a professional, I don't care who you are, you could be the gas station owner, but if you have a customer shopping in your store, the first thing you do when you step out the back is not objectify her and make some sexual comment. He could have greeted me and say, hello, miss, right? You look very beautiful today. Even if he wanted to say something like, your body look banging, and then he moseyed along. It's different context. So people could, again, many people will welcome that, but I don't welcome that. I don't welcome that.
Okay.
And that's something that, if I went and reported him for just that one comment, I might have appreciated people saying that overreacted. Right. But that's not what I did. I communicated to him in a reasonable way. I didn't shout at him. I didn't cuss him. I just said, sir, I don't want to be sexually harassed while I'm shopping in the gas station. And he obviously appreciated what I said because he apologized, and then he moseyed along.
Okay. Well, I guess that's fair enough. Chrissy, I was asking if there was a particular instance you went through, like Noelle's gas station incident, that you wanted to share with the people where it was you were sexually harassed. Chrissy, I hope you ain't listening to it on Facebook, man. You on the phone? Because there's a long delay. Right now, she's listening on Facebook.
I'm listening on the phone.
And it's clipping. Jesus, the delay that long? Anyhow, go ahead. You hear my question, right? Go ahead.
I didn't hear the question.
No, I was asking you to give us an instance of sexual harassment that sticks out in your mind that you don't mind sharing. Because I want to get,
say it in the phone.
I want to get the different situations so that we could see the diverse nature of sexual harassment.
Please, everybody knows my feelings on sexual harassment.
Oh boy.
Tell us.
And I was talking about the laws in the Bahamas which give women no protection. My recent situation that I've been trying to get restitution for, when you have a man who signs your checks asking you nasty questions about your sexual behavior. And if he were not the man who signed my check, I would have picked up the entire bar and burst him in his head.
Wow.
But because he is the person signing my check, I took it over and over and over again. And the laws don't protect you. To file a sexual harassment lawsuit in the Bahamas is a waste of money.
Wow.
Yeah.
So women in the Bahamas don't have any legal backing
recourse
when it comes to sexual harassment?
No.
Of course not. People don't think it's an issue.
Yeah.
And the joke about that radio show was this gas station story
Not a
was
leg
like
to
a
stand
throwaway
on.
from me.
I tried it.
Wow. Go ahead, Noelle, sorry.
I was saying that the gas station story was almost a throwaway because the primary case of because on the radio we were actually talking about sexual harassment in the workplace, and the serious example that I described was a case where I was working for a client because I do consulting, and for over a year, every encounter I had with this person was a case of sexual harassment. This was somebody also who signed my checks and approved my check payments, and he did things like repeatedly asked me for sex, right?
Wow,
oh,
outright,
man,
just
why
outright.
You don't, yeah,
Wow.
outright.
Wow.
Why we don't hook up, man, Noelle, I love you. And this person was married, by the way.
Oh my goodness.
This person, and this was another thing that on Facebook some people ridiculed me of. I said that this person took one of my Instagram photos, again with me in a swimsuit. Hello, I'm the domestic tourist. I go island hopping. I spend a lot of time on the beach.
Right.
So he took a photo from Instagram and made it the background photo of his cell phone,
Wow.
zoomed into my crotch, and
What?
was boasting up. Yes. And this was something that he thought was completely okay.
Obsession.
He thought I would be flattered
Oh my
by the
goodness.
idea that he thought I looked so good, he would want me as the background photo of his cell phone. Yep. And somebody on Facebook called me. They said something like, "Oh, that bitch is complaining because somebody took a photo from Instagram and had it on their phone." I mean, people have to understand context.
Yes.
People have to understand this person is in a position of authority over me. There's a power dynamic.
They don't.
Yes. They don't understand those things. They just say, "Oh, this bitch complaining because somebody took a public photo and put it on their phone." Yeah. That person has no interest in even understanding what sexual harassment is about. That person has no interest in even understanding the effect and the impact it has on women. Mm-hmm. You understand? Imagine how oppressive that is now. You trying to just do your work and you have to be avoiding this person. You trying to just do your work and you have to just pretend like these things are jokes just so that you don't have to deal with the reality of what's happening. Yep. And to what Gail was saying earlier, these people know sometimes. This person know because he would also joke that if we were in the United States, this would be considered sexual harassment.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
See, I didn't even know that like women didn't have any legal backing to do anything. So I was unaware.
What you would do?
I was unaware that they were so forward, like to just outright, like, "Hey, when you can give me some of this, man, what you dealing with? You know I want this." I didn't know that it was outright. Gail, give me one story, man.
Greg. Welcome, Greg.
Tell us about an experience that you can share with where you were sexually harassed that sticks out in your mind. You don't have to call names. I mean, you could if you want to, but you don't have to.
Anything basic from a man making a gesture, putting his fingers on either side of his mouth and moving his tongue in the middle to indicate oral sex.
Wow.
Being on the workplace and men calling you sweetie, baby, honey, and you don't know them from a can of paint. Feeling as though they have access.
That's considered sexual harassment as well.
Yes, it is.
The names.
Yes,
it
is. The pet
baby.
names, especially on the workplace, unprofessional and sexual harassment as well.
See, a lot of people might disagree.
Yeah, they could disagree. That's all well and good, but that's our culture. We want to call everybody baby and whatever. But the gentleman said it, and I felt uncomfortable. And if I feel uncomfortable, it's inappropriate. Why are you calling me baby on the workplace? We're in the same department. I just met you. What's going on? Stuff like that. I would also say, well, in terms of being an entrepreneur, as Noelle mentioned, you have clients and stuff like that because especially you're out of the formal environment of the four walls of a workplace now, you're almost at their mercy. You're meeting with them, you're consulting with them. And so they feel as though they have free access. You don't have the backing of, let's say, an HR department or a manager. Being an entrepreneur, I kind of got discouraged at one point because I found that it was more of a focus on me rather than my work, where you have clients texting you 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, inappropriate business hours, asking if you want to go to dinner. I had a client message me at 9 o'clock asking me if I wanted to go out west to a restaurant. A married client, actually. And then that's how he exposed. Yeah, well, that's how he exposed himself to me because I didn't realize during the course of our work. No. Oh,
you said he exposed himself to you.
Exposed himself as this type of person, I should say.
Okay.
That's when I understood that this wasn't about my work. This was about us eventually or potentially sleeping together. And it just, I have so many examples of stuff like that. Or when you're on the workplace and people touch you, it's not only inappropriate touching for your private parts, it's like touching your hair. I was on a bus one time, right?
Let's hear this.
And a gentleman came.
The small of your back.
A gentleman came and sat down behind me on the bus, and he leaned forward. I try to keep aware of what's happening generally around me because, again, you expect to get harassed or friggin' attacked at any moment in time, right? That's just paranoia, I guess. But I saw him move, and he leaned forward. He touched the back of my neck.
What?
And he said, you have the prettiest hairs on the back here.
Oh, my goodness.
And ran his finger up and down the back of my neck.
What?
And the only thing I could say was bus stop. I wasn't where I had to go, but I felt in that moment, I felt so scared because I didn't know he already had given himself access to me.
Right.
without my permission.
Exactly.
Right.
Where is that going to go? And I was kind of like near toward the back of the bus also. So now I'm like, okay, if he decides to do something, you know, how far I'd have to go to be able to escape. The bus was kind of full. All of these other factors, and I can't make a scene. That's how I felt. I almost felt powerless in that moment, like, and I wasn't in a place. I just got off the bus. Honestly, I was like, bus stop, I paid, and I just left. That was the only thing I could think to do, because when it's happening to you, you kind of freeze. Like, for me personally, I don't know, some women react differently, but for me, it was just that moment of total shock where it's like, I have no idea who this man is. I don't know where he's been. I don't know. You don't even know where his finger being. Like, why is he touching? Why is he interacting with me? Why is he touching me? He just touched. I remember this clear as day. He ran his hand like this on the back of my neck. You have the pretty, and this little nasty voice. You have the prettiest hairs on the back of your neck, you know. And that just made all my skin crawl. And the only thing I could do
my skin crawl now.
was leave.
Maybe I'm naive, and maybe it's because I'm not a woman. And I don't actually experience these things, and I haven't seen them like these. This is surprising to me to know that men are so forward and aggressive as to touching your neck and rubbing their finger up and down.
That's nothing. And imagine when it's school children.
Right.
Like, again, I mentor a lot of girls in high school, and they ride the bus every day. And every day, school children are being harassed on buses. The bus drivers and other people riding the buses propositioning them all the time, sometimes touching them. Like, and so Chrissy's point about the fact that we have no redress as women, and this is why it's so important to focus the conversation in terms of solutions on teaching men how to act. Like, men need to moderate their behavior, because imagine if that was a schoolgirl and some a man comes and rubs up on her neck and tells her how beautiful or whatever she looks. What exactly is she to do? Short of getting physical with him or belligerent, which both of those have their other consequences, all she could do is say bus stop and try and remove herself from the bus. And we should not be subjected to that every single day of our lives, having to deal with men who just don't know how to act appropriately and understand personal boundaries. Like, so to me, the conversation has to be, and all men have to participate in this conversation, which is why it frustrates me so
all
much
men and women.
Because I think, women,
I think that's the issue. We tend to divide it too much.
Women, exactly.
Women
need to participate in the conversation. And it's so frustrating when all we can talk about is what was she wearing. I mean, if you understand all the examples that we just gave, it has nothing to do with what she was wearing. You understand? It has to do with men not understanding personal boundaries, not understanding how to be respectful, not understanding how to objectify women and treat women like they're entitled to their bodies and their personal space.
I just remembered another example. Actually, I was 15, and a 30-something-year-old man, I remember him telling me that he had a wet dream about me.
You serious?
Yeah. And I didn't even know what that was. I worked in a little store. It was like a summer job, and he worked in one of the adjacent.
You have a daughter,
stores.
Greg. Remember?
Man, listen.
And he said he wanted. I remember, and he was pressuring me to kiss him. Actually, I remember this too. He was pressuring me to kiss him. He knew your age? Yes. And you could get, like, I guess, snacks, chips, drinks, soda, whatever. So I went to go get a snack. And he was there like, oh, you know, I like you, I watch you, or whatever. You should kiss me. And I remember feeling that something was wrong about it. Right? So I didn't go through with that. But then he decided to let me know, you know, he had this wet dream about me and all these other things. And I didn't understand what that was at that time.
These dudes got.
But when I think back on it, it's like I can't imagine what I would do. You know, if a 15-year-old came and told me that this was her experience, like I don't know.
Now, like Noelle said, and this is what we like to do on the show. We want to focus on the solutions, right? I just wanted to get some stories from each of you so that we can have like a diverse, you know, set of instances. So people can see the range of what takes place on an everyday basis, and we could get to the bottom of eradicating that. And it's going to be very difficult because it's a culture that's been in my entire existence. I'm sure Chrissy's existence, it goes far back, and it's not going to change overnight. But we have to start to have the conversations to start to move towards that change. And I think the reason it's not moving is because instead of having conversations, we having arguments. And each side is just attacking the other side, and no one is really understanding where each other is coming from. And I don't give excuses to men for acting inappropriately, right? But what I do try to do is understand why they feel this way and why they act this way. I want to have an understanding, because that's the only way you could deal with it. You have to understand it. And so I don't just, in terms of the pedophiles, I may launch some insults and, stuff like that. But I want to understand, why do you feel that this is okay? That you could rub your finger on a woman's neck, or you could rub a woman's thigh, or you could press up on a woman, or try to force her to kiss you. Why do you feel like this is okay? You know what I mean? And you know where I think it comes from. Everybody knows. And you can say I used to talk the Bible plenty, but to be honest, a lot of these so-called Christians, they get these beliefs. Yes, they get these beliefs from the Bible. Because the Bible is not very kind to women. You understand? And they hold fast to these beliefs, and they take it into their culture and their tradition, and they just pass it on.
Yeah.
And so it feels like a woman is an object,
or
only
property.
here to serve a man.
Yep.
She is here for the purpose, and I think that's where that entitlement comes from, where they feel like they're entitled. God put you here for me. Use mine. And so
I mean that patriarchy, the mentality, it's present within some religious doctrine, but it also transcends the religious doctrine now too, because it's just a part of the historical context of where we're coming from in terms of relations between men and women. You know, I mean, if we go all the way back, we're coming from a point where women were chattel. Right, and so we're on a line of evolution, but some people still hold on to the views that, if I flirt with you, that means I want it. If I go out with you once, that means I'm yours now. And it all comes to this idea of, and sometimes it's very subtle. It's not. Some men might not even realize that this sort of mentality is a part of their own subconscious. But it's very ingrained in how we understand what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman.
Now, on the flip side of that, Noelle, now, like you said, if I flirt with you, now, don't you feel like if a woman flirts with a man, you understand how it can be misleading to that man?
No, not flirting doesn't mean I want to have sex with you. I'm talking about
that's the thing.
People make jumps. People make jumps.
But that's to you. But see, see, from a man's perspective, see, to you, flirting is just, and I say this all the time, right? I say I tell a particular girl, listen, you gotta be careful with your flirt. Some women are just naturally flirty, and they feel and it is innocent, and they feel it's innocent. They don't really want anything sexually, but their behavior is just naturally flirty. Well, let me tell, men seem to be on the hunt all the time, right? And any little ray of acceptance, they looking to grab onto us. Okay, she wants it. Okay, right?
Yeah.
And
but
so
Greg, don't you think that means that men need to teach other men that is not actually the case?
Hold on.
I mean, I could understand. Shouldn't we be teaching men then?
Well, not just. I don't think
doesn't mean sex.
No, I don't think it's just men need to teach men. I think we all need to come to an understanding that
okay,
listen,
Greg.
this is not because I smile with you a little bit or I cut up. That don't mean I want your penis. Okay.
Okay, but then when we don't respond, when we don't answer, then they could talk about how deep your so-and-so is and how wide this is and what smell bad. So you either respond to something, or even as women, as perpetrators, because there are women who are perpetrators of sexual harassment as well.
Yes.
But if you are flirting or whatever the case may be, and men obviously don't know where the point is to stop, then you can't start. And if you don't start, you run the risk of getting cussed out and getting beat up or killed. I've seen men kill over rejection as well. Not personally seeing, but I've seen stories where that's happened, right? Yeah. But there's no balance. It's either you don't respond at all and put your life in danger, or you may try to respond to alleviate whatever's happening, and then it just snowballs into something else.
Have you responded like in a way that you feel was calm, nice?
You know what I do now? The other day, a gentleman, he was like, "Ooh, you look nice in that dress." I was like, "Yeah, you look nice in that dress too." And all the boys just ran him, right? And all them burst out laughing. And it gave me enough time to scurry away so that they couldn't think of anything after that. What I find is men already anticipate you not responding. So the 50% chance that you do respond, there's usually like a 30% possibility that they weren't expecting that, which means they probably won't have anything to say to you after that. But I try to say, I try to end it like, yes, a pleasant good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for greeting me. Like when you say things, I kind of throw them off a bit.
What happens when you
these
when
are
you do
like
that?
These are like you're fending attacks,
But
babe.
see,
Like you as a daily.
But I'm trying to figure out the most effective reaction, because I'm sure women deal with catcalling all day, every day, right? So I'm trying to figure out what's the appropriate reaction.
Just tell them you're looking for somebody to pay your bills or something. I'll just get them to leave you alone.
You sure? Now hold on. Now some of them may be looking to pay some bills, and they if that means they can get what they want, they ain't got no problem with that.
Well, that works 75% of the time. Good luck with the other 25%.
See,
but Greg, Greg, I have a question for you, right?
Go ahead.
Well, you know what? Actually, that question could go down a rabbit hole. But
No, man, go ahead. I'm curious now.
Well, my thing is that, again, it goes back to a lot of the times, and this is why I keep emphasizing, like, men being asked to moderate their behavior. And why I keep emphasizing men, teaching men, is that women have been talking, like we've been talking about what sexual harassment is, and we've been talking about what we want men to do. But what happens is that men who don't see themselves as a part of the problem, they don't participate in the conversation. But then they also don't call out their boys when all the time. There may be some men who do this, but a lot of the times they don't call out their boys. So they're not trying to shift the culture. You understand? And to me, what we really need is everybody participating and trying to shift the culture so that men can moderate their behavior. Because I think if a man says something to me offensive, he say, "Oh, carry a stink this or whatever," and I want to cuss him out.
Yes,
I should be allowed to cuss him out without becoming a victim of
murder,
of more harassment, or even some physical violence. You understand what I'm saying?
No,
so it shouldn't be, "Oh, I have to respond in a polite way."
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying? Don't harass me in the first place. And so to me, that is the standard that we need to maintain. That if you are the person who is perpetuating the harassment, then the responsibility has to be on you to moderate your behavior so that you're not harassing. And even if you don't realize in the first instance, when somebody brings it to your attention, why, if you're making a woman feel uncomfortable, why would you want to persist with that behavior? What does that say about who you are? You understand? You have this compulsion that you just have to insult or whatever the case may be? No, most reasonable men, if you bring it to their attention that you're feeling threatened or you feel offended or whatever, then they will go along and just be respectful.
And you know what I hate to see, and it gives us men such a bad name. And you're right, I completely agree with you. We do need to do a better job of calling out, other men when they act inappropriately. I hate it to see, "Oh man, that's just man. We can't help ourselves."
Right.
And I'm like, hold on.
Like animals.
Like, hold on now. Wait a second. Now, I ain't gonna lie.
Oh, boy.
I ain't gonna lie.
There we go.
If y'all look good, you walking down the street, I ain't gonna lie, I can look, right?
No.
I can look at Chrissy, but no. If they look,
Don't get chopped.
I can look. But see me, and like she said, I guess as a reasonable person, I can just keep it in my head.
Yes.
I ain't gonna be, hey, catcalling, hey, sexy, hey, sweet thing, or, you know what I mean? I don't act on it verbally, right? I may say in my head, "Mother, sick, that girl look good," right? And that's it. But men seem to put this thing out that, and some women too, not just men.
Right.
Women do it too. Well, that's just men. They
Well,
can't control themselves. They think with the other head, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
No.
hold on now. I understand the urge. We all human. We have sexual urges. Sure, I get that. But we also have the ability to control our urges.
Yes.
And so that's where the breakdown is that control. And I think too often men are given a pass for this lack of control over their sexual urges. And I think that's just a cultural issue. Chrissy, what do you think? What do you think that stems from this attitude that men have? What do you think it stems from in your lifetime dealing with men? Why do men feel this way, that they're so comfortable?
Not the lifetime. Well, the thing is, there is a spirit of, again, misogyny. And remember, like Noelle said earlier, there was a time when we women were property and chattel. We had no rights. We had no ways of being in our own personhood. And so a lot of times
the times have not adjusted to this new woman who is going to tell you that you will not touch me in the small of my back without my permission.
Jeez.
You will not catcall and say nasty things to me. You will not do certain things to me, and I'm not going to sit here and allow it. Like I have said on my show before, and you know I could use your show. When you have a boss who's going to ask you, when last somebody licked that and stick that for you?
My Lord.
And you have to just take that because you know you need this job. Again, men are conditioned to believe that they are above not all men, but society, because of the patriarchy, gives men the rights to do whatever they want to do.
Did you see the social media post where the gentleman was asking, it was a lady who I think had just brought into his employ and asked her what she willing to do for this job.
Oh, I heard about it, but I didn't see it. And it was an actual WhatsApp or something,
It was a
right?
WhatsApp, WhatsApp message, and he's like, so what you, basically he's asking us what you into, So she's like, work. So he's like, you know, your body too fine, or something to the fact of her body was so fine, she should have anticipated being solicited for sex for this job.
Right.
So it seems the issue here is we need legislation so women can have actual some documents with teeth that they can actually take action against these things.
The problem is men making the laws.
We have legislation. We want to prevent this. Why? If we have enough problems, we have rape laws, and it's hard enough to prosecute rape.
Boy.
You think it's going to be any easier to prosecute sexual harassment?
Right.
We need to prevent this by getting men to stop behaving in a way that's harassing.
I agree, but
and that to me is easier. There's some easy things.
Well,
right?
you
can't. Go ahead.
No, but you know, and I'm sure you know, Noelle, you have short term and long term, right? And throughout this discussion, you guys have already stated that there isn't enough legal backing for women to take action when these things happen.
No, it's not the legal backing. It's not the legal backing. We
the
have sexual harassment laws in the workplace in the Bahamas. The enforcement of laws can't take place if you don't have the people who are willing to enforce the laws and the policies. And the people won't be willing if, one, they don't buy into the issue. Yep. Two, they don't think it's as serious as the law dictates it is. You understand? So we have to shift the mindsets of people.
No, I agree.
Because if I report it and my superior thinks, oh, it was just in my head, or my superior... the law can't force my superior to take it seriously, even though there is a law that could back me up if he were to take it seriously.
But, but here's the thing, Noelle, and I hear you, but that what you guys were just talking about, that's evidence. She has the conversation.
Yes.
So did she
not recorded?
No, it's a WhatsApp conversation.
A screenshot of the
conversation. That's evidence. Did she actually report it?
That we gave you. Look at all the examples.
No, I get it. I get it.
And how often will you have the evidence?
No, I trust me. You won't have evidence every time.
So now she reports it. She takes it to the police, who are of the same mindset that this is not sexual harassment. Man, he just wants to see what's going on, type of thing, right?
He didn't mean it like that, man.
Right. Or the lawmakers and the judges are the ones who are perpetrating this behavior, or saying that, it's okay to have these laws and stuff in place, like Noelle was saying, or the people to enforce it. But when the people who are enforcing it and actually created the laws are of the mindset that, what you worrying about that for? What you talking about that for? You know what I said? I said before that I was sexually harassed or assaulted by a cousin of mine, right? But the cousin is batting for the other team, or whatever the case may be. And the person was like, oh, okay, well, that's all right then. Like their sexual orientation wasn't like that when they was, bothering with you. So don't worry about it.
Wow.
Like the people who are in authority and who we would anticipate would be able to support us should we decide to report it are of the mindset that this is what happens. This is part of life. Why don't you just deal with it? Why are you complaining about this? You see how many women called or referred to Noelle with derogatory terms or whatever. Women referring to her in this way. Why? Oh, she want attention. Oh, this, oh, that. Like, to shift this mindset.
That's what I'm saying. That's
sickness.
It's tough because that's a long, hard-fought battle, because you have to change a complete culture that has been ingrained.
But not even. There's some simple things, right? That I don't see why it requires a big cultural change.
Let's hear it.
Number one.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Actually, let me turn back on the TV. Okay, number one, if you have anybody who's a subordinate to you at the office, do not make any sexual remarks, any sexual overtures, any sexual invitations to that person. That's number one. That's simple. If you are somebody's boss, if somebody reports to you, just don't do it. Do not do it. And furthermore, if that person makes a sexual overture to you, tell that person that that's inappropriate. Okay? That doesn't require that shouldn't at least require a major cultural shift. That's just being a responsible professional. Okay? And then the number two thing that can happen is that you are on the job. Do not make any sexual passes, overtures, stares at any customer. If we could just do those two things, you know how much that would reduce the number of incidents of sexual harassment? If you are on the job, you're working, an employee a customer comes into your business, whether it's a gas station, whether it's a lawyer's office, whether it's a food store, don't make any sexual gestures, sexual overtures, sexual invitations, no touching of anything to any customer. And the same thing for anybody who is a subordinate to you. Just don't do it.
Well, I could simplify it even more, and Gail brought this to my attention last week. It's a very simple thing, and I want you all to try it. Chrissy, Noelle, Gail, I want you all to try it, right? You all paid attention?
Yes.
All right. And Gail brought this to my attention last week, and I saw the video with the comedian as well, right? Tell the man, whenever a man does something that you consider to be sexual harassment, flip it on him, right? And say, how would you feel if there was a gay man that did the exact same thing that you just did to me? How would you feel? And then when they answer, tell them, that's exactly how I feel right now. I think you have to put things in context for people and give them analogies that they could relate to get them to really understand how you feel. And I think that whole gay man analogy is perfect.
Or not necessarily a gay man, just any man. How would you feel if a man came to you?
Right.
And was like, wow.
Exactly. And
your body look good,
but the same gas station incident.
Right.
Some people ridicule.
So I want
you to walk out the back of the store.
But I don't like mom, but
look at your package and said, wow, can I help you? And there's another man. Even if a woman who you didn't find to be attractive, because see, men tend to, I guess men and women, sometimes we tend to be more lenient with people who we find attractive. Fine. So let's say a woman even walked out from the back room, but a woman who you don't find attractive, and she stared at you and said, wow, look at that package. Can I come and help you? You two would be like, no, sweetie.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Worse, a man look at your package and did the same thing.
So I want that's your homework assignment, eh? Anytime
we can remember.
Yeah, please remember that.
Chrissy, record that, please.
Anytime I'm diarizing it.
Yeah, a man do something to y'all that y'all consider to be sexual harassment, just say, excuse me, sir. How would you feel? If a man said that or did this exact same thing to you?
They'd run so hard.
And then you say, oh, you see how you react? That's exactly how I feel.
They would fight.
Yes.
Exactly. And
many things, if they were subjected to many of the things that we did, they would fight.
Yes.
Literally.
So that's what you have to do. You have to put them in that position. Make them feel that. And that's the only way I feel they would understand to a degree how women feel. Like that was perfect when Gail brought it up last week. I was like, damn, I can't even.
I have a question for Noelle and Chrissy.
Go
have
ahead.
you ever been accused of being a lesbian because you didn't respond to sexual advances?
Of course.
Because that has been the first thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you don't want me, you must be gay.
Yes.
Wow.
So you like daddy.
Like that.
And do they stop there? No,
it
sure
just
stop.
it just
That might
gets
actually
worse
make
from
them
there
more
because
excited.
now it doesn't even, it's because it's not even probably even a good lesbian, I guess. I'm just the one that doesn't want to bother with him, according to him. So now I'm the victim of talking about how lesbians are abomination to God and and you need
but
some
two women
dick
having
and
sex and male porn is okay.
Yeah,
exactly. We hypocrites, Chrissy. We
we
established this.
Yeah,
we established this. We hypocrites. But again, I just think the conversations need to be a bit more calm. And I understand it could get heated at times because you know what it is, right? And it's the same thing when it comes to like when I discuss it with beating children and stuff, right? People tend to attach themselves to their beliefs and actions as to who they are, right? So I have to explain to people, listen, you did a bad act. I'm not saying you are a bad person.
Right.
Because when you condemn someone for doing a bad act, somehow they feel like you are insulting them as a person, their character, that they're a bad person.
That's guilt.
Good people can do bad things. And so you have to let them know, what is it?
That's the comment right here. Andrew just happened to say it. Okay, not every Bahamian male are this way.
Oh, and man, it's a good thing you said. Now listen, I want to ask you something. Chrissy and Noelle,
Thank you,
right?
Andrew.
Maybe
about to
I
light
crazy.
you up right now.
Maybe I crazy. No, I ain't gonna light him up.
Oh, I will.
I
will. Go
on.
on.
Actually with him, right? And this is where the divide is.
Oh,
because I saw in a group, this girl posted, any man that says not every man is a part of the problem. And I'm like, hold on a second.
You know
but not every man is.
Exactly.
Not every man is.
Her whole thing was, and like, let's say a situation like this with sexual harassment. If a woman is describing something and she said, men this and all men this and that, and if a man says not every man, then that man is a part of the problem. Do you agree with that?
Well, I personally believe that you either are part of the problem or you part of the movement to solve the problem. So personally, I believe that for certain issues, I think that there shouldn't be any bystanders, because if you're a bystander, then you're supporting the status quo.
But then again,
we're trying to change the status quo. So for me, if you're not a man who you might understand the boundaries, but if you don't call out your friend when they cross the boundary, if you don't back up a woman in conversation, if you are part of the conversation, you don't back up a woman who is trying to explain what the situation is, then yes, I think you're a part of the problem.
No, I get that.
Personally, I feel that there are no bystanders.
No, I get that.
On an issue like that.
I understand what you're saying, but again, I think you lump them in a different category now, because
check your boy.
Because I say not every man doesn't mean that I'm just a bystander. You know, that means I know, like me personally, I know I don't do these things. So if I keep hearing women saying, "Oh, men and all these men," I'm like, hold on, wait a second. Not all of us are like that, and I could just be coming to the defense of the men that actually have sense and don't do these things. That doesn't mean that I'm not on your side or I'm a bystander. I'm just saying, hey, listen. When you do this, when you lump everybody in this category, you are not going to get anything solved.
Fine, but sometimes
lumping
men
me as
are
a
sensitive. Sometimes a woman doesn't even claim that it's all men. But men get hypersensitive whenever we're talking about an issue. You understand? So if I am talking about if this issue, the majority of men who are the perpetrators of harassment, the majority of people who are perpetrators of harassment are men, although not all men, and probably not the majority of men are harassers. Fine, right? So if I'm talking about the situation and I'm saying men, I'm not saying all men, but some people take that as just because you say men, you mean all men. You understand? And then it becomes a defensive situation.
Not me.
But again,
sometimes we just got to be less defensive on both sides.
Exactly. But I agree. But still, again, we should not be dismissive if they do get defensive, right? Because
why not?
Okay, here's why. And it was what I was saying before all of this, right? They feel as though it's an attack on their character, right?
How?
Yeah.
And you have to make it. I think you have to make it, and this has worked in certain circumstances, because, like I said, I debate when it comes to beating children all the time, and when I actually get people to calm down is when I say, listen, I am not saying your Grammy is a bad person. I ain't saying your mommy bad, your daddy bad, your auntie bad. What I'm saying is they may have used bad tactics with good intentions, right? So I'm not saying they're bad. And when a lot of people come out with these accusations or whatever, they tend to attack character. Men are this and men are that. They're no good. They can't control. And men get offended. I don't feel you should blame men for being offended if they feel as though their character is being attacked just by virtue of them being a man, right?
But so don't talk in absolutes.
Exactly. But and that's what I'm saying. I agree with you, Chrissy. I don't like when people speak in absolutes, and I'm sure we all are guilty of it from time to time. But you should catch yourself and be like, not all, but some.
Okay, but if it don't apply to you, why are you getting defensive? You understand what I mean? Like the head pig squeals.
Again, Gail.
Right?
But then, Gail.
If you say women wear dresses, why I could be like, oh, not all women, not all women. I could just be like, oh, okay, women wear dresses. That's cool. Like, why are you getting defensive? You understand? And that has to come from a place that inside of you where you feel as though you have to defend that. Then I start looking at you a little off.
But again, now when you ask that, are you really asking to figure out why and understand why? Or are you just like, why are you getting defensive? You shouldn't be getting defensive.
I don't ask people why they get defensive. I just make a mental note. But I'm just saying, why are you getting defensive?
But is your attitude to actually understand or to condemn because you don't feel they should be getting defensive?
I understand where it's coming from.
You sure?
Yes,
Where does it come from?
But Greg,
Go ahead, Noelle.
Or the penis.
But Greg, if you get in defense, okay, if I'm talking about an issue, right, about, men and sexual harassment, and you jump into the conversation to defend yourself as not a sexual harasser or this don't apply to you, right? To me, then I can say, okay, no problem. And then what? You're just going to jump back out of the conversation? Like, to me, that's the thing that I don't get. Like,
Spotlight on me.
So what purpose is it solving? You just don't want people to think of you, because I had this conversation with a guy on the same Facebook thread talking about this issue, right? And I said to him, he said, respectable men don't do these things. And I disagreed with him, right?
That's a lie.
But hold on, I disagree with him for some of the things that Greg is getting at. Look at the people who are being accused of rape, okay? Even convicted rapists. Most of these men are people who have been considered to be respectable men. Pastors, your father, your brother. To me,
politicians.
The person asked me, is my father and brother, do I have a father and brother? I say yes. And I consider them to be respectable men. Does that mean that never in their life there's not the potential for them to end up doing something that is not respectable, to your point? I don't put it past anybody, because at the end of the day, what they're trying to say is that we can just isolate the quote-unquote respectable men from the non-respect. That's not how life works. People think that they're respectable. They even have good upbringing. But if their mentality and they don't understand the issue, or if in their own consciousness they don't understand boundaries, they can do things that are not respectable. So it's not about separating who we consider respectable. Because if we were to separate all the people who we think are respectable, then we would separate all the police officers, all the church leaders, all the this, all the that, all the teachers.
Everybody.
But it's all these same people who are subject to become and commit these type of acts.
But that's
so to me, as a man that says, oh, this doesn't apply to me, I'm not one of those, then what? So what okay, no problem. It doesn't apply to me, then what?
But that's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. And that's why I say we have to, I think we should make it clear that, listen, this isn't an attack on you or men. This is an attack on the acts, these detestable acts that take place. Because, like I said, good people
and mentalities,
yes. Because the mentality actually leads to these acts. So yes,
exactly.
But then again, you got to be careful how you do it, because a lot of people tie their beliefs to their character, like that. Their belief system is who they are. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a kind of fine line. You have to kind of weave it carefully, because people are sensitive. People are human beings, right? And anybody that feels as though you're attacked in their character or their very being is going to get defensive. And the worst thing you can do when you're trying to get a point across or communicate something to somebody is make them get defensive because they shut down. You understand? And we need everybody to be on board in order to eradicate this issue. So we can't just dismiss people as, terrible predators, human beings, and I ain't talking to them because they ain't worth it. We have to find some way to get through. And that's why I was asking Gail, when you're asking why you getting defensive, are you truly asking to understand why he's getting defensive, or are you doing it in a dismissive way as to say that you shouldn't be getting defensive? And I think that's the issue. A lot of people are determining how other people should feel. And this is why they don't know the boundaries, is because, well, I don't think that's sexual harassment. But you're not me. I'm the person that has the reaction to feeling. You can't tell me how to feel or react in a certain situation. And I think
But also there are the laws. So you could say this isn't sexual harassment, but maybe if I educate you and say, well, this is what the law defines as sexual harassment, you can't tell me. Well, you could tell me, well, I don't think that that's sexual harassment. You could hold on to that view, but if you commit that act, then society should hold you accountable. You can't just say, well, I didn't think that was sexual harassment. No, sexual harassment is a thing, and just because your value system tells you that this behavior is okay, that doesn't mean that it is okay, and that doesn't mean that society will maintain a standard that says that is okay. Anybody, even murder, you could believe that it's okay to murder somebody if they murder your cat or your mom or your family member or something. Fine. That's your value system. You believe that. But society is not going to maintain that standard on your behalf, because all murder, whether it's revenge or not, is considered against human rights and against the law.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
I just feel like we just need to stop trying to tell people how they should react. You can't tell someone how to react to your action.
But right? Can we tell people how to behave, or how we expect them to behave? I mean,
how to react
don't
to
want to tell people how to feel. But can we tell people that this behavior is not acceptable? This behavior is against the law. This behavior is harassing.
No, sure.
You know what I mean? Because there's a fine line. Yeah. Because some people are offended by you saying that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree. But I just when I see the conversations, I just see a lot of people telling other people how they should feel about the action, and it's like if I punch Gail in her arm. And she say, "Oh, but that hurt." I say, "Man, I punch you hard, man. That ain't hurt."
Right.
I can't tell you how that feels.
Correct.
And we have a lot of people telling other people how they should feel.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. And that's on both sides. It's not just men. It's not just women. It's on both sides, because you have men telling women, well, they shouldn't be offended by certain actions, and you have women telling men that they shouldn't be getting defensive or feeling a certain way about certain actions. Mm-hmm. So I think on both sides, we have to stop telling people how they could feel about certain circumstances. Let's try to understand each other more. That's the only way we'll be able to deal with this. Mm-hmm. And if y'all if y'all do this homework, I want y'all to report back to me. Let me know the reaction of these men when y'all flip it on them, and let's see how that works. Because that could be a viable reaction, and it might work. It may be something women could do to get men to understand how they feel in these circumstances. Because I sure know man that is straight one another man rubbing his finger up and down his neck.
I think the homework, fair enough. And I think that we should also add homework for you, for all the other men and women listening. Again, we need to start educating people about what is harassment and some of the things how we need to moderate our behavior. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean all of these things. Some women or some men might be okay with this behavior, but just because one person is okay doesn't mean that anybody else is going to be okay. So you can't presume that the behavior is okay.
Right.
You understand? If you have a mutual consent between two people about so you and your boyfriend, y'all could speak at each other, and you could slap that ass and all that stuff. No problem. But you can't assume that because
boyfriend, keyword.
You can't assume that because, in fact, on the weekend, I danced with somebody at this party. This beach party on the weekend. Mm-hmm. I was dancing with him, and after we finished dancing, he slapped me on my ass. And I had to cut him. I was like, "Excuse you."
Wow.
You understand? That is harassing behavior. In fact, that could be assault in some places.
Right. Yeah.
So you can't presume that just because a woman is dancing with you, you could slap her ass.
Right.
Some women wouldn't mind, no problem. But I would say, if I'm a man, I want to err on the side of caution and respect.
Right.
So go with the behavior that represents the lowest common denominator. Mm-hmm. Just don't slap her on her ass unless she tells you that it's okay.
Right.
Or you have a relationship sufficient that it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well,
simple, man. Simple. Just be decent and respectful.
Yeah, and I think we all just need to calm down on all sides. Just I understand it's a passionate issue, especially hearing some of your stories. I mean, geez, I could completely understand why women get so emotional and touched and passionate about this issue.
Greg, if you were subjected to what we're subjected to, you wouldn't be calm.
We ain't even talk about rape. We ain't talk about rape yet. We just talk about harassment.
Hold on, Noelle. Who tell you women don't hit on me? You better catch yourself. Who tell you women don't hit on me now? I have been objectified as well, okay?
Hey.
I have been objectified.
Easy.
All right, Greg.
Easy. Too much.
We ain't got time. We done run over time.
Greg, we ain't even talk about rape. We only talking about harassment.
No, I get it. I completely get it. We could do a whole nother show on rape. We could do a whole nother show.
Date rape.
All of that. And
on the workplace.
And the amount of women that have been raped is like mind-blowing. But that's
another thing for men too. Like, consider the fact that every woman that you speak with, every adult woman, has experienced harassment or rape or some sort of assault before in her life. Mm-hmm. The way you approach her or whatever, you may think she's being a bitch, you may think she's carrying on bad or whatever, but honestly, each woman that, especially ones that I know, are dealing with trauma. You're trying to live your life every single day and forget that, or not forget, but you're dealing with the fact that these things have happened to you. So be a bit more considerate of the fact that the woman you're trying to hit on, or whose attention you're trying to get, or whatever you deem in your mind is what it is that you want to do, is probably dealing with trauma from another male or sometimes female who has assaulted, raped, etc. So keep that in mind.
Yes, we all need to be more sensitive and understanding of the other parties. I just hate to see it always coming down to this war of men versus women, because you'll never get anywhere like that, and that's what it always seems to turn into. So you
don't have to frame it like that too, Greg. I mean, that also is a perception. Meaning that framing is also a part of a perception, because this conversation that we just had was not a war between men and women.
Oh, no, I agree.
The conversation that we're having, no, I'm just saying that sometimes we frame it in that way based on just our own perception. But what we're talking about right now is, if you want to frame it as a war, it's a war between people who commit sexual harassment and people who don't want to be harassed. You understand what I'm saying? So even though men are the primary perpetrators, that's just statistical. It's not a war against men and women. Right. Any of these gender issues, most people who participate in these gender discourses, it's not a war about men and women. It's not a fight. You know, people call us, and in fact, on Facebook, they'll say, "Oh, we must be lesbians, and lesbians have this agenda, or we must hate men, or all this stuff." That frame of mind to framing the conversation reflects on your point of view, your perception. But intrinsically, this isn't a war. This whole conversation, it has nothing to do with men versus women.
Right.
It's about, we just want to eliminate sexual harassment, and we want those who need to understand what it is.
Exactly. We lost her?
Acceptable.
She might have gotten cut off.
We lost her. Well, she have to go to our show anyhow, and I wanted to thank her before you go. But anyhow, Noelle.
Thank you, Noelle.
Yes, thank you so much. Chrissy, as always, appreciate
it. You're welcome.
Thanks, Marlene.
Appreciate it. See, she got
Marlene.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chrissy.
Thank you, Gail.
Welcome.
As always, I appreciate you contributing to this conversation, especially.
Yes.
Thank you. I
Thank
apologize.
You to our viewers,
I apologize,
and
people.
Listeners.
We have
a lot of comments.
60 comments.
We have a lot of comments.
I apologize that we couldn't go through them. As you can see, it was a deep panel. We had 4 people, and we all have a lot to say on this issue. But we'll try to go through the comments after the show and try to reply to as many as we can. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you guys for commenting. We hope that you share the video, share it with people so that we can spread this kind of conversation. We want to get to the bottom of the actual issue. We want to deal with sexual harassment. We want to eradicate it, right? So share the video, tag people in it. Let's get this video going around. Let's have these calm discussions where we actually try to understand each other so we can deal with the issues. Because shouting back and forth and attacking each other, that ain't gonna get us nowhere. It's not gonna work. And that we don't do that on this show. We aim to solve issues. Say not yet. No man, I tired of rowing, man. I do
it's
all
fighting
around.
time.
I do all around. I ain't around with nobody. No, I ain't got time to row. We can have discussions, and if you want to solve an issue, let's talk. If you just want to make noise,
let's
argue.
I
ain't got time for you. No, people.
We want to do the two.
What'd you say, Chrissy?
We want to do the two.
Well, we can. But sometimes you gotta
make a little controversial.
You gotta argue a little bit to get to some solutions. But I mean, people who just arguing for argument's sake. You have the people who just want row. I ain't into that just rowing for rowing's sake.
Who just want row? Who?
Listen, you ever been on Facebook?
I want a chopping section in the show.
A chopping?
Yeah.
Who you want chop?
Chrissy chopping.
Can we bring people to the studio and chop them in there?
I ain't getting involved in that. I ain't getting to jail. I do pretty for jail. I ain't getting
Don't say jail.
A lot of mercy.
But anyhow, let's wrap this up. We done run way over time. Chrissy, once again, I thank you. Thank you, Gail.
Thank you,
yes.
Thank you, people, for watching. We appreciate it. And until next week, peace. And stop harassing people, man. Stop seeking out these gals.
Don't
and
harass
honey and
people.
Sweetie.
And don't harass men, neither women.
Don't harass men, neither. Y'all women, stop hitting on me, please.
Yeah. Oh.
Greg, you sexy, babe.
This is awkward.
All right.